Hello guys, welcome to StudyIQ. I'm Safir, and in this session we are going to discuss one of the most important topic from polity. In fact, we are starting with polity. So we have done enough videos on history and economy, and I'll be continuing doing that also. But at the same time, we are starting with polity as well. So the topic that I'm going to discuss is preamble. One of the most important topic, you will see prelims as well as mains questions. Alternate years you used to get prelims question, and mains also. Even last year also they have asked a question, right, related to secularism. They can take up each of these content like sovereign, secular, democratic, republican. Based on that, they can ask you questions, right? So in the present context, to what extent the secular notion is relevant, whatever is mentioned in preamble, like that. They can take up sovereignty. And in the present situation where all these international organization is there, the pressure from international organization is there, there is a kind of neo-colonialism which is going on. And in this context, to what extent are we sovereign, right? Same way republic and all these can be asked as questions, right? Secularism, sovereignty, democratic republic, whatever it is. So what we will do is we'll be talking about each of these. I'll discuss the meaning of each of this, and you will understand everything, which is going to help you to answer any questions in mains. And trust me, guys, after you attend this session, just spend this 30 minutes with me or 25, whatever it is. You don't want to read anything for this particular topic. I'll try to cover everything. I'll also discuss the case laws, which is related to that. There is a case, right? That Kehar Singh versus Union of India case, and I'll make you understand. It's a very simple case only related to the question of we, the people of India. Right, people are the ultimate sovereign. Based on that, there was a case law. So we will be discussing briefly about that as well. So everything related to this, which is important for prelims as well as mains, will be covered. So just take down the notes, because I don't generally use the PowerPoint or anything. So we will right away start with the topic, right? So I'll just write down the topic, preamble. So what is preamble? Preamble is actually the summary of the Constitution. So when I say summary, it will tell you the aim of the Constitution, or what the constitutional makers intend to say, right? So it is actually the key to unravel the minds of the constitutional makers. And according to D.D. Basu, preamble is actually the philosophy or the theme of Constitution. So I hope you got some idea about preamble now. It is in the form of certain declaration. It is a summary of the Constitution. It is a theme of the Constitution. It is a philosophy of the Constitution. It is a key to unravel the minds of the constitutional makers. So if you find any particular provisions in the Constitution, how can be, you will understand the relevance of that particular provisions or that particular article when you compare it with the preamble. So preamble is actually the summary of the Constitution. So what is preamble? It is just a summary of the Constitution. And in case if there is any ambiguity, in case if there is any discrepancy or any issues which is coming with respect to any laws or anything, any policies which has been coming up with, then you will refer to preamble as well as DPSP. Right? For example, if you see there is Article 15, which says there should not be any discrimination. But then you have come up with reservation. So that means it is a kind of discrimination only, right? Positive discrimination. But so how it has to be understood as something like this. We have, when it comes to preamble, I'm going to discuss about all these. There is something like equality in status, at the same time, social justice. So if you consider that, if you need to give equality in status and social justice, you have to give reservation. So when it comes to this reservation, it is not contradicting Article 15, rather it is complementing Article 15, right? So when you're giving reservation, it is actually not against Article 15, though Article 15 says there should not be any discrimination. And reservation is clearly, it looks like it is completely contradictory. But if you consider the aims of the constitutional makers or the dreams of the constitutional makers that you can see from the preamble, where they are talking about equality in status as well as social justice. I'll be coming to that, justice, social, economic, and political. So like that, we will be discussing in depth each of these. So my point here is how this can be, understood or read well, or how it will stand, is because there is a provision in preamble. Otherwise, also the reservation and related case laws and everything, I will discuss in detail, which in itself is a very important topic when it comes to this right to equality. Okay, where there will be a separate session on that, where I'll discuss all the case laws related to reservations and everything. Similarly, if you see Article 39B, which says material resources of society should reach to all. And 39C says no concentration of wealth. Right? Based on that, You have come up with land reform, especially abolition of zamindars and land ceiling, the nationalization of banks. Especially if you see this nationalization of bank and all, it looks like it is contradictory to what 19(1)(f) and 19(1)(g), right? So right to profession, right to business, right to vocation. So actually, the nationalization of bank is actually contradicting. But since this is there as part of DPSP, that has been given the validity. I'll come to that when we discuss about DPSP. When I discuss about the fundamental rights, I'll be taking up all these cases and I'll be discussing that in detail. But my point here is, I just want to mention this. If there is any ambiguity, so then the Supreme Court can refer to the preamble and DPSP to come up with a conclusion. Okay, so that's the key point. And what about the preamble? Is it enforceable? It is not enforceable. So just a few points. It is not enforceable, not conferring any substantive powers to the organs of the government. So it is not giving any power to any organs of the government, nor it is taking back any power, nor it can limit any power. So it is customary and it is not compulsory in nature. So it's like some declaration, right? So what is there in preamble? I'm coming to that, but just understand these things. It is just a summary. It is the theme of the Constitution. It is a philosophy of the Constitution. It is not compulsory. It is not giving any power to the organs of the government, nor it is limiting any power. And it is customary, not compulsory. Okay, now one more point. The preamble cannot actually override the Constitution. That means if there is any specific provisions when it comes to the Constitution, that specific provisions will have more validity or more importance than the preamble. So that will prevail over the preamble when it comes to the specific provisions of the Constitution. That is also very important. So when it comes to the specific provisions or the specific articles, that will have, in case if there is any discrepancy or anything, that article will prevail. Okay. So now what is the purpose of the preamble? So here is where actually I want to discuss about the Kehar Singh case. So when you look into the purpose of the preamble, it declares the source of all powers of the Constitution is the people. So the source of the power is the people themselves. And Constitution arises from people only. Okay. So that is, preamble declares that people are ultimate sovereign. Now related to this, there is a case. People are ultimate sovereign. Guys, I'm not going to write the preamble right here. I'll be showing that later. But you all know about preamble, right? We the people of India. So it starts with we the people of India. So in this case, Kehar Singh versus Union of India. Kehar Singh versus Union of India. This is the people of India, or people are the ultimate sovereign. That has been, see, if you take this example, we take it as we the people of India. We were not. So in Kehar Singh versus Union of India case, what has actually happened is we the people of India, right? So we people of India has been challenged. Why? On what ground it has been challenged? Because you can see here, right, when the Constitution is adopted or when it is enacted, we were not alive. So what is the point in we agreed upon to it, right? So I cannot say I have agreed upon to that. You cannot say you have agreed upon to that. So what is the relevance of this we people of India? Or what is the relevance that people are ultimate sovereign, right? So people are ultimate sovereign. So this has been challenged in this case, but it has been concluded by Supreme Court by saying that it is a legal fiction which has been used. Okay, so it has been legal fiction and which cannot be questioned or challenged or tested in any court of law. So that is the conclusion of this particular case, Kehar Singh versus Union of India, which is the case which arises from preamble with respect to this we people of India, or people are ultimate sovereign. And it has been concluded by saying that it is a legal fiction and it cannot be questioned in any court of law. All right. Now, what else preamble will tell you? Preamble will tell you that it has an enacting clause, right? So it will tell you when exactly the Constitution was enacted and adopted. It is on 26th of November 1949. Guys, actually, I have recorded the video, and in between I have seen that some portions are missing because of some internet issue. So this is something which I'm re-recording. That's why video is not available here. This is just for 2-3 minutes, and after that, the old video will be continued. So this is just to replace that gap because I got some internet issues at that point of time. Okay, so this 26th November 1949. And preamble also will help in the legal interpretation of constitutional provisions. Okay, and if you look into preambles, it has certain ideals and aspirations. So aspirations are very important. What are the aspirations? So mainly, if you look from the preamble, you can see justice. So as I've mentioned before itself, we can discuss about socio economic and political justice, right? Political justice means what? You can see, irrespective of caste, religion, gender, or anything, you can participate in voting and in contesting election, and everything you can do. Economic justice is what you can see from right to trade, right to profession, right to business and vocation and everything, right? From fundamental right itself, you'll be getting that. Socio, that is article 15 to 18, is the social justice part. Similarly, you have equality in status and opportunity. I've mentioned about this. And then liberty, and then fraternity. Fraternity is brotherhood. I'll be discussing each of these in detail. Now, these are aspirations, and the ideals are like, if you need to achieve these aspirations, these ideals are to be followed. For example, if you need to achieve justice, right, we need to be secular, right? So secular as well as democratic, then only we can ensure justice. So if you need to achieve this aspirations, you need to follow these ideals. What are the ideals? Secular, democratic, sovereign, socialist. Guys, each of these I'll be discussing in detail. Republic. Okay, so if India is like this, we can achieve this. 42nd Amendment Act. This can be asked in prelims also. 1976. It can be asked in mains as well. The three terms which has been added: socialism, secularism, secular, and integrity. So it has been added in 42nd Amendment 1976. Guys, based on this also, the modifications or the amendment which has been happened in 1976, to what extent it is relevant in the present society. So they can, so what they're asking about socialism, they're asking about secularism and integrity. But out of this, which one is more important? These two are more important. So they are asking specific question related to what extent socialism is relevant now, especially in the current setup, and to what extent secularism is relevant now. And last year, if you see, this has been asked very specifically, this question. They have taken up this and they have asked this question, right? Now, whether preamble is part of the constitution, traditionally, the traditional views that, it's not part of the constitution, right? So that's a traditional view, because even if you drop it, there won't be any problem in the functioning of the constitution, because it is not conferring any power to any of the organs of the government. At the same time, it is not limiting any powers as well. So even if you drop preamble, no problem, things will function properly. So preamble was not considered as part of the constitution. Okay, so Supreme Court in Beriberi case, it has been held that not part of the constitution. But the modern view is that preamble is part of the constitution, but not the essential part like the other articles. Just because preamble is the part of the constitution, it can be amended. Otherwise, preamble cannot be amended. You cannot add these to preamble, right? If it is only the constitution can be amended under Article 368. So how preamble can be amended? Preamble can be amended only if it is part of the constitution. So the modern, and that has been concluded in the Keshwan Bharti case as well, right? So it can be amended to keep the changes which is going on. So the modern day philosophy and everything which has been changing. So it can be amended and it can be kept alive based on the modern day philosophy, modern day aspirations of the people, modern day requirements. So that is why now you can consider that preamble is a part of the constitution. So if you get a question related to that, preamble is part of the constitution. That is a modern view. Traditional view is this. So in case if you need to explain with the case, there's a Beriberi case and then Keshwan Bharti case. So these are the two cases that you need to discuss. Beriberi case, it has been held that not part of the constitution. Keshwanda Bharati case, it has been held that it is part of the constitution. Now, what I can do is I can explain each one of these, what is sovereignty, what is socialism, what is secularism, etc. So let me start with this one, socialism. Now, guys, this can be asked as a separate question. They can ask you main question from this. So understand what is it all about, right? So it is like, what is the situation of socialism? The societal resources for the benefit of all equally. So that is what all about socialism, right? So that means there should not be any concentration of wealth. Wealth should be divided among people. That's the main idea of socialism. And they're talking about equality. So that's the main idea of socialism. Now, are we really socialist? No, right? We follow a mixed economy. So immediately after independence, we are a mixed economy, but there was a tilt towards socialism. And that's the reason why you have gone for nationalization of banks, land reforms, etc. And then if you look into our present policies also, like the progressive taxation, the subsidies, land ceiling and everything, this actually tells that we have a kind of socialist setup. So if you see in the beginning, immediately after independence, we are mixed economy, but there was a tilt towards socialism. But then post 1991, we are still mixed economy, but we have opened up our economy, and then we shifted to kind of capitalist setup. There is a tilt towards capitalism. But then we have realized that even though we shifted, but there is nothing much is actually happening. In fact, we were expecting that the inequality will come down, the unemployment issues will come down, the employment opportunities will be created, poverty will come down, right? This is what the expectation, the trickle down will happen, but nothing happened. In fact, inequality have increased post 1991, unemployment increased, because this was actually a prelims question. What has come is not labor intensive investments, it is a capital intensive investment. So that's why unemployment actually increased, poverty increased. So government realized that the intervention of government is very much essential. And then you can see post 2005 onwards, government intervention is getting more. And you can see government programs like MGNRAGA, Food Security Act, Forest Rights Act, and everything is coming during these times. Okay, so that's about socialism. Nothing much to discuss. Resources of the country should be distributed to all equally. That's the main idea, but we follow the setup. And what are the examples? In case if you are getting a question, you need to talk about progressive taxation, right? If your income is higher, if your income is more, you need to pay more tax. You'll come under a higher tax slab. So that is a kind of socialist setup only. Talk about subsidies. Okay, all these things you can mention. So next one, you can expect from here is, no, I'm just writing it as questions because you can actually expect a separate question here. Otherwise, I'm just talking about the different, points in the preamble only. Sovereignty. Now, what is sovereignty? Guys, sovereignty means the country's government is totally independent when it comes to the governance of the country. And it does not acknowledge any other power supreme with respect to the governance of the country, either within its boundary or internationally. Okay, so the government is independent, totally independent, and no other influence should be there in the governance. That's the idea of sovereignty. Now the question is India truly sovereign? Guys, just before I've talked about this 1991, why we went for opening up of economy, why we went for this LPG and all, we came under the pressure of IMF and World Bank, and we had to sign a lot of agreements, and based on that, we have opened up our economy, and a lot of changes has been made in our economy. So all these things have come under huge pressure from those international organizations. So my point here is, especially during this time of international organizations, the country's sovereignty has been challenged. And this is a kind of neo-colonialism. Some countries are controlling these organizations as well, right? So there is a kind of neo-colonialism going on, and the sovereignty of the countries are actually affected. So when we signed these agreements, in fact, sovereignty is affected. Similarly, if you see, when it comes to WTO also, we are facing a lot of challenges within WTO, right? Before we had a process patent. A process patent means we can change the process and we can make the similar product. That is good. That is the reason why we could have easily gone for generic medicines and all, right? Cancer drug, it cost heavy. The same drug we can make by following a different process. The product can be same, but now with the pressure of WTO, we have to change to product patent. In that context, we cannot do the same. We have to follow that. That means the same product cannot be made even if you follow the different process. So in fact, that is actually affecting the sovereignty. So I hope you are very clear with this. Sovereignty means the country's government is truly independent when it comes to governance and other matters. But are we truly sovereign? If you get such kind of questions, you need to take up these examples and you need to write in the era of this international organizations who's having huge influence like WTO, IMF, World Bank. The question of sovereignty is very much affected, right? So these examples you can write. Again, Indo-Japan nuclear trade agreement you can write. Okay, the marine fisherman's issue you can write. All right. Okay, now the third one is related to secularism, which again can be a question. In fact, they have asked this question. Now guys, when we discuss about secularism, understand, see, if you're following a religion, it's like religious or irreligious, not following any religion, or it could be anti-religious, opposite religion, or it could be non-religious. So these are different situations, right? So when it comes to secularism in India, we will not recognize any specific religion as the official religion of the country. That means India is neither religious nor irreligious nor anti-religious, but non-religious in nature. Okay, so India is not religious nor irreligious, okay, nor anti-religious, but non-religious. Now the idea here is we are going for tolerance. So that is very important. If you see here, that means multiple religions will coexist. So this is all about religious pluralism. Different terms that I'm using, all these I'm expecting that is known to you and it will benefit you when you're writing the answer. So we are looking for religious pluralism, coexistence of multiple religions together. Okay, so this is a very important provision when it comes to this is what you need to mention. The difference in Western secularism and the Indian notion of secularism is this, right? We do not have any official religion. We do not have any state religion. So the tolerance is what about secularism when it comes to India. So religious, pluralism, that is something which you can write. And various articles related to that also you can write from the Constitution. What is next? Democracy, right? We have a representative democracy and we have a very strong democracy, one of the most powerful democracy when it comes to across the world. So there is nothing much to discuss. We conduct regular elections and there was no election, all the elections which has been held in time post-independence. So there was no such issues with respect to that. So, and the question is again, what are the issues related to democracy? That again, you need to write, right? There is a religionization of politics which is going on, regionalization of politics, casteization of politics, criminalization of politics, and all these issues are there. So that is something which you need to write. But how can we improve that? We can improve through RTI, we can improve through social audit, we can go with citizen charter, right? And awareness of people, and all these things you can write as positives. There are negatives. What all things will affect the democracy? Religion will definitely affect, caste will affect, right? Regionalism, linguism, and all these issues are coming when it comes to politics. So that is something, democratic setup, right? You can write. And then as a solution to that, you can write about citizen charter, you can talk about social audit, you can talk about giving awareness to people, and then RTA activities and everything you can write as the positives. Republic, I'm just now mentioning about the terms so that things will be very clear to you. So when it comes to republic, people are supreme and there is no hereditary ruler, and the head of the state is elected by the people for a fixed term. So are we a republic? Yes, the head of the state is elected by the people for a fixed term. So there is no hereditary head of the state. Okay, so no hereditary ruler, head of the state is elected by the people. So people are supreme. That's what republic is all about. Now, in the aspirations, we have discussed about justice. So justice, socio-economic and political justice. So what is political justice? Every citizen, irrespective of caste, religion, sex, economic status, is allowed to participate in the political happening of the country, whether voting or contesting election. So that is what you mean by political justice. Then economic justice, right? Various fundamental rights are there to ensure economic justice, like right to vocation, public employment, etc. And then social justice, which comes under Article 15 to 18. Right? Economic justice will come under this, again, fundamental rights, like just before I have mentioned, right? The public employment and then right to business, right to vocation, like that. Liberty. Liberty means absence of arbitrary power exercised by government over individual. That again is ensured through various fundamental rights, like you have the right against arrest and detention. So government cannot have any arbitrary power over the individual. Then next is equality. I've mentioned about this equality both in status as well as opportunity. And then fraternity. So what I mean by fraternity, it is nothing but a brotherhood. Okay. So that is prevailing among the people of India. So guys, I'm sure that all the terms related to this has been covered in detail. So we basically discussed about, so these are the key terms, right? Socialism, these are ideals. So these are ideals. Following these ideals, you can achieve the aspirations. Okay. So what are the aspirations? Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. These are the ideals. Socialism, sovereignty. So what is socialism? Distribution of power, distribution of material sources and wealth and everything to the people equally. And then sovereignty, the supremacy of the government. Okay, there is no influence from outside. So secularism, coexistence of multiple religion. That's the easy way to explain secularism. No religion is a different thing. So guys, secularism means the concept came actually based on no religion, because with the development of science, actually what happened is initially everything was explained through religion and God, right? Any natural activities has been explained with the help of religion. But when science and intellectual came, then they have started explaining everything in more rational and scientific way. So the religion lost its significance, and that's the time where you see no attendance in church or anything. So that situation is what you can consider as a secular society. In fact, whenever we discuss about secular, it is actually a modern. Secular can be connected with modern. Secularism and modernism is almost the same. Okay, so when we discuss about secularism, it is actually non-religious when it comes to Western notion. But when it comes to India, multiple religions coexist. That means in India, it is neither irreligious nor anti-religious nor religious. It is non-religious. It won't support any religion. We don't have any official or state religion, right? Every religion has been treated equally. Every religion will coexist. That means religious pluralism, coexistence of multiple religion, religious tolerance. That is very important. So I hope these three are very clear. And then comes this democracy, very, very clear. They will ask you this also separate question. You need to talk about the positives and negatives. Republic, no hereditary ruler. Justice, we discussed liberty, equality, and fraternity. So guys, I hope everything is clear with respect to this particular topic. Any question you get from prelims as well as mains, you should be in a position to solve it. So don't forget to like the video if you like the video actually. And if you have any doubts, you can comment below. I'll see the comments and I can reply accordingly. Okay, guys, see you in the next session.